So let's talk a little bit about the layouts. Click on Structure and then Layouts, and you can see we have a default layout for the home page, and then a default layout for everything else. And then the administration has its own layout, which we won't be touching in this demo. We're just worried about the front end right now. So you can see the little icon here. It gives you a rough idea what this layout's going to look like. So the home page has no sidebars. It's using the layout template called Boxton, and everything else is using the Moscone flipped, which has a right-hand sidebar. So what I would like to do is I'd like to set up a layout that only works with flavors. So I'm going to click on Add Layout here, and I'm going to call it the Flavors layout. And what I want to happen here is I like this half and half thing that Sutro gives, so I'm going to do that. And now the path here, we're going to type in node/%, which will make this layout work on every node page, which that's the internal term for all the content pages that you add. So when you add a flavor, when you add a post, that kind of thing, it will reside at node/1, node/2, that kind of thing. So by saying node/%, we're providing the layout with the context that the layout will work within, which is any content page that's added. And you can see as soon as we added that, it automatically figured out the context that it's a node type that we're adding. However, I only want this to display for flavors, so I'm going to add a visibility condition and say the type of content only has to be flavors, otherwise use the default layout, not this one. So then I'm going to click Save or Create Layout, and you can see the layout here is generated for us, and we have the different regions of the page: header, top, content, and then here's that half and half thing I talked about, bottom, footer, and we can just grab these little handles and move things around. So I'm going to move the breadcrumb down to the bottom here. And then the page title shows up in a default location, but you can change that. So I'm going to move the page title down here into this sidebar, this half first thing. And you could change classes here. So you could add, let's say your theme had some special styling for h1.flavors. You could add flavor class here. And then the title would get that class on the front end and display appropriately. I'm also going to I'm going to start typing in field here, and you can see all these fields that we added or that we had on the flavors content type show up, and it's because we have a context of a node for this layout. It provides all of these node options to us. So I'm actually going to pull the image out of the flavor content piece, and I don't want to put any labels on that image, but I'm going to show let's just say for now a large image in this first half sidebar there. I'm not going to link it to anything or float it to the left or the right. And then I'm going to move a little bit out of the box here. I'm going to move the main page content to the second half. So this would be, whatever's left in the description area there will go up in the second half. So we're going to have a page title and an image on the left, and then the content on the right. And for the moment, I'm just going to save this layout. And now if I jump back to content and I come to look at one of these flavors, let's check out how mint looks right now. So you can see we have the title and the image pulling in just like we expected, and then the main content showing here. And most likely we won't want that image showing twice there, so I'm just going to go back to Structure, Content Type, Flavors, Manage Displays. And for the default display, I'm just going to drag that image down to the hidden area so that it does not display in the main content area. And now if we jump back to Mint, you'll see, just as we expected, the title, the image on the left, and then the content on the right. And now if we go back to the content and go to a post where we had check out these scoops, you can see it's still using the default layout with sidebar on the right and and all the main content on the left and that kind of thing. So you can see the layout only applied to the one that we wanted. Now, if we go back to Mint, you'll see the chocolate syrup topping was selected for Mint. So if we click on that, you'll get the default display for chocolate syrup here. And then underneath it, the two flavors that we thought that topping might go with, chocolate and mint. I'd like to change this layout as well, and maybe get that image over into the right-hand sidebar for these taxonomy pages. So again, I'm going to jump over to Structure and Layouts, and I'm going to create a new layout. And this one is going to be called Toppings. I only want this to work for toppings. Now the taxonomy /term/% is the context path that we'll use here to let it know that we're going to have a taxonomy term coming in here. So again, you can see the context jumps in here, figures it out. It's a term that we're looking at. And again, this isn't going to be for all terms. It's going to just be for terms from the toppings vocabulary. Again, I'll create this layout. If you noticed, I chose the Moscone flipped so it has a right sidebar. And again, I'm going to come over here and add the image, which is shown up because of the context that we gave it, that it's a term. Again, I'm not going to show any labels. We'll show a medium one here because that sidebar is a lot smaller. And again, I'm going to get that breadcrumb down a little further. All right, so I'm just going to save that, and we'll test out how that looks. So when we get to the chocolate page and we click on chocolate syrup, again, we'll have to get rid of this image out of the main area because we've pulled it out here. So other than that, it looks like it's working just fine. So structure, taxonomy, toppings, manage displays. And I'm going to manage the default display. We don't have to show that image because we're pulling it out separately. And yeah, so we should be good. Let's check it. Mint, go to chocolate syrup. Now we can see the image for the topping shows here, description here, and then anything that's tagged with that term shows up underneath. So we can click through, and that's the basics of what I wanted to show. One other thing I'll note is that you can create a layout that doesn't have a context, that has a specific path, which is actually what the home layout is. Just it uses the path home. So you could create a layout at any path you want, and then fill it in with blocks and content blocks and custom text blocks and view blocks and all whatever you want to put in the different regions of the page, and fill it in that way. I think in Drupal there are modules that exist to let you create an empty page that doesn't have any content, which you could then fill in with however you want to, and this essentially does that in a much nicer way. All right, and the next last thing I'm going to mention about layouts is that you can, if you've got Project Installer activated under Functionality, you can click on Install New Layouts and see what's available from the contributed layouts, and click Add to Installation Queue, Install. It's kind of it just walks you through 1, 2, 3, 4. Successful. And if you jump over to Settings, you should see the new one. And here's Senjo I just added. And that's it for this time. Thank you for watching, and feel free to ping me if you have a particular topic you'd like to see a screencast of Backdrop CMS.